Hey there, everybody. So I wanted to close up my first hike. I have a YouTube playlist regarding a hike in the Boundary Waters. We did a smaller hike on the Superior Hiking Trail last weekend to prepare for the Boundary Water hike that's coming up this weekend. And I did record a bunch of videos. I have them. They're not that great. I mean, the videos do capture the views really well. I think I uploaded one of us at the park, before we took off. Um, but most of them I marked private, just because it's my family time and it's me and my family, and but I still wanted to publicly talk about, what I'm doing, and maybe I can upload like the one where we stopped for lunch, where we stopped at this place called Sawmill. Well, you can see it's Sawmill Creek here, but there's a place that I think it's called Sawmill. It's a view. It's a Sawmill Peak or something like that. I always forget the name of it, and please accept my apologies. But I just wanted to at least show you topographically on a map here, what we did. So we started on the road here. Sawmill Creek comes through here, and this is the Superior Hiking Trail. This dashed red line, and right here where you see County Road 6, there is a parking lot here where we parked our car. Actually, over here is the parking lot, and then we just walked down the road and we entered the trail. So I just wanted to show that upon immediately entering the trail, uh, for those of you that are not familiar with a topographical map, every one of these lines represents a change in altitude. So right here, this is 1,160 feet above sea level. The next line, this one, is 1,180. And you can see this one here is 1,200. So every line is looking like it's about 10 feet. So this is 60, that's 70. This one is 80. This one would be 90. And then this is 1,200, and so forth. And you can see when the lines are really close together, that means that's a really steep hill. And I just want to stress that. It's a really steep hill. So we went from, it looks like 1,170 feet right here, all the way up to 1,350 feet, straight to the top. And that was our first view. And it's, like I said, it's called Sawmill something. And we had lunch there or whatever. And this little soiree, no, that wasn't Sawmill thing. That was just some stupid hill we climbed. Never mind. That's not the Sawmill thing. I got a little ahead of myself. So I don't know how far that is. Quarter mile, half mile, no clue. I don't. Well, here's a legend. That's 200 feet. I mean, you do the math. It's not very far, mileage wise. So we hit this hill, and I think roughly around here I stopped to catch my breath. Then again here, then again there, then again there, and I think right around when you see this corner here, I thought I was getting near the top, and then I peeked around the corner and I saw that it kept going, and I uttered some words that I can't repeat on a children's channel. This is not a children's channel, but you know what I mean. I uttered words that would have made my video not be PG, because I realized I had to go more, and I stopped and took another rest. And then eventually I got to the top of this mother trucker, and then it went downhill all the way back down. And you can see, I mean, this is 1,320. So it wasn't like super far down, because remember, the lines are your guide. There's not a lot of lines here, so even though it looks like this went all the way back down to this level, it did not, because this is where that level is, right? So we're still up high, but it did go down. It looks like 1,350 down to 1,310. No, that's 1,320, 1,310, so 1,300. So it went down 50 feet. So we went from 1170, 12, we went up almost 200 feet and then down 50 feet. So that's how this worked. Then we get to here, and you can see it's going back up, up, up. There is a trail that goes from here straight to there, but it's a very not used one. and we skipped it. It's called Picnic Something Trail. I don't quote me on it, but anyways, we went this way, and you can see, look at all these lines really close together again. That means super steep hill, up, 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 all the way up to 14. Well, it looks like 1370. Then around. Oh, look, we're up to 1410. And then it keeps going, 1410, 1420. So this is where it leveled off a little bit. So we're going along a ridge here. And then eventually it goes up to 1450, and then 1500, and then 1550. This is the Sawmill. It's Sawmill Dome. That's what it's called, Sawmill Dome, because it looks like a dome. And it has a wonderful view going out this way over Sawmill Creek, and then there's actually some houses along this road. You can see them here dotted. Um, so we go up to the top of this, and this is where we had lunch. This is 2.1 miles to get to here. So going back to there, so just to give you an idea, from here along all these hills to there was 2.1 miles. Now our watches were telling us we had gone 1.9 miles, so but the signage said 2.1, and so I don't know what the discrepancy difference is. I tend to trust the watch more than the signage, but anyways, you get the gist. So we did this, and like I said, I stopped like at least 8 times on this hill right here. This one was a few more stops. I was trudging along okay. Then we get to here, and oh gosh, I bet I stopped 8 more times. Anyways, long story short, it was a beautiful view, and I recorded a video up here. I'll see if I can maybe share that one. But the view is me explaining that this was worth it. It was, it was hard, and it was worth it. So I want to talk about some of the dynamics. First of all, my training for this. I had been walking with my dog almost every day. I think I did upload a video that explained that I injured myself medically and had to take a week off. That sort of hurt me. But the point being is I got my feet used to getting some miles under it and stuff like that. When I got to the top of this hill, I felt good. I felt like, okay, yeah, I'm doing fine. Now, the issue, and I want to be fully transparent because I don't want people getting wrong impressions about hikes like this. The issue is these hills were not only steep, but they were rocky, they were uneven. This wasn't like a smooth path. I mean, there were times when my dog couldn't figure out how to get up to the next step, and we had to like lift her up. Although I have to confess, my dog did amazing, and I only had to lift her up maybe twice this whole trip. She was so impressive. Like some of the spots we thought we were going to have to lift her up, and she figured out how to do it anyways. But just imagine like a dry riverbed and all the pebbles and loose rock that's on a dry riverbed. And it's dry, so there's no water anymore. But now you're walking along this dry riverbed with all the uneven and loose pebbles, and now you're going up altitude changes. And in some spots, they actually had some wooden stairs that they built into the hillside. I mean, it was more like a retaining wall that acts like a stair. And so there were spots like that, but those stairs were brutal for me because I'm carrying a roughly 30 pounds on my back. I'm also carrying my own fat self, and I just can't stress enough how much I would run out of breath and just need to like catch some air. And then I recover, and then I keep going, and I go another 30 feet, and then I stop and catch my breath. It was driving my son nuts. My son loves me. As much as it was driving him nuts, he's never ever going to show that to me. He was never disrespectful. Don't like assume bad things there. But I know I was driving him nuts because he wanted to go faster, and he was able to go faster. And in fact, here's the story. We get up here, we're having lunch. It's a beautiful view, and he realized he never locked our car. So he took the keys to our car and left his backpack there, and he ran all the way back along this trail, all the way back to our car that's parked right here, just so he could lock the doors. And then he came back this way. Now, while he did that, I did my recording, and then I and the dog started walking this way, which this part here, it was fairly level and not too bad. I mean, I know it drops to 1,400 feet from the 1550, so we went downhill a little bit. But I went down here all the way around, and this part, yes, I was cruising because this part, there was a little bit of a, because see how steep this is. The trail was like your ankles were always bent, on the trail because the trail was not level, all the way through here. But we were cooking, and getting I think I got to this hill here, and I slowed down because the hills were killing me. That was what was getting me. And then right around in this area, here's my son. He ran backwards, back to the car, locked it, ran back up, grabbed his backpack, and then caught up to me. I mean, he was insane what he did. So, anyways, we hiked along this, and you can see there's still a lot of uphill, downhill, right, along the way. And then we get to here, and I think there was... Nope, that's not it. We went around. This is where we camped, so I got to back up from there. I think it was somewhere in here. Well, first of all, there's this place that where the rocks are super close to each other, and there's barely enough room for you to walk between them. And I mean, it's almost like walking in a canyon, and it was really cool. But there was a view, and I think it was here, maybe a view looking out towards. We were able to see Superior, Lake Superior from there. So we get to this view, and we're roughly a mile from camp. And I say this because it was basically the 4 mile mark. This trip was 4.5 miles. At this view, I recorded my video, and I was stating that I'm starting to get some blisters. My feet are aching, because of the heaviness of the pack, and that I'm getting tired. And beyond that, though, I was still in good spirits, and I still felt, what, this is a great trip. And that's where I was here. So then we continued. We go through the spot, where the rocks are all super close. There was a bit of a climb here. I mean, this was mostly level. And then you can see it's going down and up. And then we get to here and see this goes up to a peak, a top. And then it goes back down. And the down part had involved, they actually had man-made stairs. And it was right around here that I hit this wall. The wall was so bad. The best analogy I can give you is, do you remember those? You've probably seen those videos where they show these marathon runners. They're literally just 100 yards from, or even 100 meters from the finish line, and their legs get wobbly and they're unable to finish. And they always show how some other runner stops and, picks up his arm and helps carry him, so he could walk to the finish line. That's what happened to me. I started somewhere in here. My legs started to spasm. And then roughly here, because we went up this hill, and that's what killed me, the hill. The hills were killing me. I mean, the terrain was rocky. It was never level. The path was never even. That's par for the course. You're in nature. These are supposed to be nature trails. They're not supposed to be wheelchair trails. I get all that. The point is that the hills were definitely killing me. And this one, broke me. And I started to, I was unable to walk for a while. I actually had to sit down and contemplate my life choices. And we were literally this close to camp. So what happened was my son ran ahead and dropped his gear and then came back. And I had only moved a little bit. And then what he did was he took my pack. And once he took the 30 pounds off my back, I was able to walk quite well. And so I walked the rest of the way, and we were able to get to here, which is where our campsite was. And I was fully intending to like record our gear, like what do I have packed, all that stuff. I did none of that. I had a little portable chair that I brought with me. It only weighed a pound. My son set up the chair so I could sit in it. And then I sat in it and my legs were like shaking. And he pitched the tent. He didn't know how. I'm the one that actually knew how to pitch the tent because it was my tent, not his. And so I'm being Mr. Foreman, telling him what to do. So I have my wits about me. But as soon as he pitched the tent, it was like 4 p.m. I crawl in and I just lay on the air mattress because my son set all of it up. He did a wonderful job. He's a great boy. I love him. And I went in and I took a nap for about an hour. So he had some boiling water ready for us to make some. We had some freeze dried meals. So he made some nice carb based meal for me, and it was really tasty. I enjoyed it. And but getting out of the tent, which it's a tent you can sit up in and you got room, but getting out of the tent does require crawling and a little bit of core muscles that when you're tired I didn't have any. So just getting out of the tent, I was like, can you hold my hand? He's like, help him pull me up. Anyways, I ate the meal because I did think that I was having a dehydration slash electrolyte issue. But really, in retrospect, the issue is my body was not processing sugar into energy. And I know I don't talk about myself super much, but I do have diabetes, and I have to take insulin to process sugar. And if I don't, like, I've always been convinced because I didn't that it's not like a normal person. And I hit this wall where my body had no sugar anymore. And I think the ideal thing to do is just to drink or eat a bunch of sugar, but then I needed insulin to go with it. So like at this time, you know, when I was taking that 1 hour nap and having this dinner, I was taking insulin. And the insulin did make me feel better. Like I could tell that my body started to get sugar again. And everything about my muscles was behaving like it had no sugar, it had no energy. All I'm, the takeaway from this is that I just was in a state where, normally you tell yourself, okay, just a little bit more, and you see those movies where they just dig down and find another level. There was no other level for me. The insulin and getting the sugar in my body was the other level. Like I was basically in need for medical aid. And it was very humbling for me. And I was in complete control. I knew what I needed to get myself some sugar and give myself the ability to process the sugar. Like, don't get me wrong. Nobody needed to go in and medvac me or anything like that. But the point is I medically hit my limit for, what my insulin was at the time and the sugar. And my body was just like, no more. Anyways, I do this, and the rest of the night I'm just wobbly, with my leg muscles, and I actually, in full transparency, I even cried briefly. Like cried the way a man who realizes he failed at something cried. And here's the thing, I didn't fail. I made it to my campsite. But the reason I was admitting I failed is this was supposed to be the small hike. The hike we're doing this weekend is bigger. It's 8 miles a day. This was 4.5 miles in one day. And so I knew I couldn't do the bigger hike. And it was more of just a admitting defeat in that regard. Now my dog, who's 14 years old, she limps. Not because she has an injury, but it's more of a muscle memory thing. She had an injury a few years ago, and it took like 3 months to get the surgery, and she learned to limp, in the meantime. And then after the surgery, she just kept limping, even though her leg's fine. Um, my gosh, she was a champ. She just loved the hiking. I've never seen her happy in so long. The fact that I was with my son and my dog, who had never been happier, it was a real joy for me. And my son, like I said, the only thing that he shared with me is that he knew I couldn't do the bigger hike, and he didn't want to be the one to break the news to me. He was waiting for me to figure it out for myself, and that's probably the right way to put it. It wasn't that I annoyed him. He knew that it was going to be a slower hike because I was with him. It's like when you go to the mall with Grandpa. You got to walk slower, right? Um, but I told him I couldn't do it. And so then we talked about it, and he was asking me how I feel. And of course, I felt like crap. Even after the insulin, I still didn't feel great. So we slept, or I fell asleep in the tent around 7 p.m. And then the next thing happened to me. And I'm sharing this because I'm an old guy, and I told you I'm sharing, like, going from board gaming to being Mr. Grizzly Adams here. Um, at my age, I, you know, well, and also I have to say the diabetic medicine does this to me, not the insulin, but I take something else as well. But anyways, seven, and then the other thing was is I knew I had a sugar issue, right? So I was eating a lot of food, and then I was also drinking a lot of water. So you know where I'm going next. I go into the tent at 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. I think it was 11:30 then, so I at least made it a couple hours, and then again at 1 a.m. I'm freaking crawling out of this tent to pee, and it's happening again and again and again. And getting out of this tent for somebody like me, who was exhausted, like my muscles were just done, and I have to crawl out of this tent. And mind you, the boots are muddy, so we're keeping the boots outside of the tent. There's like this area that the boots are actually on the earth, not inside the tent, but they're still underneath the fly, which protects you from the rain. There's like this. Think of it like a porch, right? There was this little porch area where my boots were, and so I unzip the tent, and of course the bugs come in. So the moment you do that, and so you got to unzip the tent as briefly as possible. So I unzip the tent just enough to poke my legs out and get them into the boots, because I don't want to be walking around on the dirt, barefoot or otherwise. So I get my feet into the boots, and then I can't bring the boots into the tent. So I have to almost like crab walk out of the tent because I can't stand up in the tent. And so I crab walk out enough so I can close the zipper behind me, but at the same time I got to stand up. And you would think, okay, standing up, what's the big deal? I wasn't strong enough to stand up because I was so weak from the hike. It was like I felt like so helpless. And I would what I did was is I crab walked towards a tree until I could grab the tree, and then I used it almost like a support to get stood up. Anyways, every dang time I had to go to the bathroom, I was doing this. And it was angering me because it's like I don't want to go to the bathroom. I want to go in the tent and stay in the tent. The crawling in and out was brutal. Anyways, so I'm going to the bathroom this many times. Well, by the end I'm extremely thirsty because I'm dehydrating myself, and I refused to drink a drop of water. So I'm like dry mouth and thirsty, but I'm refusing to drink because I know if I drink, I'm going to make myself go again. And you might be wondering, is that what normal life is at home? Yes, it is actually. It's just that it's not that hard to crawl to my bed and go to my bathroom. It's just that now it's happening in a tent that's like a giant chore to crawl in and out of. And anyways, you won't get this on hiking channels, I guess, because it's not meant to be the hiking channel. This is the Jeff channel. I am truly chronicling what it's like to be a nerd who doesn't normally do these things is really out of shape and probably, most people would think has no business doing these things, what it's like for someone like me to do these things. And this is exactly what it's like. Is the wall I hit was brutal. I had to stop a lot on the hills. I see, to me, like, that was normal. Like, I didn't I wasn't disappointed by the fact that I had to stop a lot to catch my breath, because as long as I have energy, I'm gonna keep going. I just need my breath back, and the running out of energy was unexpected. It's been very few times in my life that I've pushed my body to a limit like that. Um, but getting in and out of that dang tent was extremely unexpected. I had not planned for it, and I didn't even think it was going to be an issue. And it was. It was such a inconvenience. And here's the deal. There was this stranger who also came. These are public, you know, this is Superior Hiking Trail. There's people hiking on this thing all the time. So somebody else went to our same campsite. Now, mind you, there was two spots for fire pits with spots for multiple tents. There were two fire pits on this side of the river and two fire pits on this side of the river. You can see this little trail here. We were on this side, and we were near one of the fire pits. And this guy, for whatever reason, came into our area, ignored all the fire pits over here, which was empty, ignored this whole campsite, which was also empty, and the two fire pits that were over there, and he pitched his tent right next to ours. I don't know why he did it. I wasn't perturbed by it. I mean, he was a very private guy. Gave us a nod and nothing more. But the thing is I Sir P a lot. Coming in and out of my tent, making all this noise, and I had to be driving him nuts. And then one of those times, my dog is deaf now. So it's just a natural part of her aging. She can't hear anymore. And one of those times, she comes out of the tent with me and notices there's another tent next to us because, he was making all kinds of noise when he was pitching his tent. She's not hearing any of that. She's inside the tent just snoozing away. So she gets out, she sees him, woo, 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 woo. She thought there was and then this guy was sleeping. It was 12:30 a.m., 1 o'clock when she's doing this. And I'm like, Mindy, stop. That's my dog's name, Mindy. And it was just, but she can't hear me. So me telling her to stop is just waking up the guy even more. It was such a comedy of errors. And then, of course, I'm chasing her around because, I'm trying to get her to stop. And all she's doing is, backing away from me. And anyways, it was quite the adventure. And then, like I said, around 1 a.m.-ish, I'm done. I'm refusing to drink, which was the right call, because the next time I needed to get out of that tent wasn't until 5:30 a.m. So I was able to get straight hours of sleep after that. But at around 3 o'clock in the morning, the rain started coming, and it was pouring down rain. And at 5:30, it was still pouring down rain. So from 5:30 to 6 a.m., I'm like, I gotta go. But I refused to get out of the tent because it was just pouring down rain. I did have cell service, and so I was able to see in the weather report that in about a half hour the rain should stop. So I'm trying to wait out the rain. And I do, and I get out of the tent, which of course makes... And here's the other thing. I have an air mattress. Every time you roll over or do anything on the air mattress, squeak, 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 because it's like a balloon when you're manipulating a balloon, that sound. And then of course you have these pillows which are ultra lightweight, and then every time you move your pillow, squeak, 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 it's just all air stuff that makes all these squeaky noises every time you move. And so when you're crawling out of a tent, it's massive squeakiness. And I'm waking up my son. I'm waking up this poor guy in the tent next to me. I have to be. Because when he rolled around, he was squeak, squeak, squeaking as well. We could hear him, too. It wasn't like he was perfectly quiet himself. And so here I am at 6 a.m., squeak, 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 waking everybody up. I get out there. The rain had stopped, which was good, but the ground was pure mud. And there I am crab walking in the pure mud. and I got mud all over my hands, and I don't know where do I wipe my hands, and I'm like trying to wipe it on a tree, because I have like nothing. I don't have a towel, so maybe you want to have a towel near your tent, by the way, for purposes like that, and so or something, right? And anyways, the leaves were wet from the rain, and so I was able to find some water and at least rub my hands against the leaves and get it to come away. So, anyways, long story short, I once again take care of my business, but then I'm like, I'm still really tired. And the one thing I haven't addressed yet is these hours from 7 p.m. So I was in this tent for 11 hours with the occasional, bathroom breaks like we were talking about. My legs wanted to cramp, especially my calf muscles. And I had to, on regular occasions, like, you know, pull my toes towards my knees, using my muscles. Like, I'm stretching my muscles, really. Like the same thing that would happen if you try to touch your toes, right? But I'm doing this in the tent because I know that my muscles want to pull and get into a cramp, and so I'm trying to keep them stretched while I'm at the same time trying to sleep. But I do every time I wake up, I'm stretching my muscles and then going back to sleep. Well, I did a little bit of that, and then eventually I was like, but I'm still tired, so I go crawl back into the tent. I was able to sleep until 8. But during that time, this guy, I don't know if he was fed up or he was just a professional, hiker, because he came in like at 8 p.m., pitched his tent next to us. By, I think it was 7 a.m., he had unpacked everything, packed up his whole tent, and he was gone. Like, we didn't even see him that morning. And then off he went. And, if that guy ever comes across this video, here we were on, Kennedy Creek on June, was a 10th, 9th, 8th. So that would have been the morning of the 8th that he left. If you're that guy that was there, and we know it's a guy because we heard him cough a few times, um, if you're that guy that was there, we just want to say we're sorry, because we didn't mean to be, loud neighbors. And anyways, so we get up, and our challenge was everything was muddy, and the rain had come down very hard. Our tent kept us dry. It was a perfect tent. That's not the issue. The issue is we got to pack everything up and go. So we pack up the tent, we pack up all of our stuff, and you just can't help avoid the mud. And you're not going to wash the mud off the tent or anything. You got to pack the mud with it. And so we did the best we could. And I had a shirt that had mud all over it, and there was nothing I could do. I did bring like wet wipes that are meant to be used for bathroom use. And so, I used a few of those to keep my hands clean so I could eat breakfast. Um, there was a latrine, in case you're wondering. They did dig a latrine, so it actually had a toilet seat. It was just an open hole in the ground with a toilet seat above it. And I think they call that the backwoods toilet, which, to be quite honest, I was extremely grateful that somebody did that. We are required to use designated campsites along this trail, and so the fact that they had that latrine there, uh, I mean, it was like a luxury versus trying to not to go somewhere where there isn't one. Um, so yeah, it was a full blown seat and everything. It was a little, I mean, it was far away from where the tents were, and I'm glad because I didn't want to have to smell that. But so anyways, all those things are there, and they also have some fire pits, and you're not allowed to build a fire outside of those fire pits. So we pack up, and I think by 9 a.m. we're ready to go. So from our standards, an hour we were pretty good. And that hour was we ate during that hour. I visited the latrine. There was a lot of stuff that was happening during that hour, and the important thing is I had my energy back. And this time around, I took insulin in the morning. I usually take it in the evening. This time I took it in the morning, and sort of double dosed up, right? Because I wanted my body to have as much ability to process sugar as possible. So the next thing we discussed is my son and I, we realized I'm not going to be able to do the bigger hike. But the other challenge was is since I crashed like I did, what are the chances that I'm going to be able to get out? So we have to go backwards the 4.5 miles up and down all those hills, right? To get all the way up here. Oh, did I pass it up? No, it actually goes this far because right here's the Sawmill Dome, and then there's the road. So that's 4.5 miles on this map right here, and I mean I'm very proud of myself. That's a lot of, and the elevation changes you saw it. I mean, it's a good accomplishment. But here I am the next morning. I have my energy back, but I'm still sore, and I don't know. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to get back. So we made an agreement. My son did the walk all the way back to get the car, and then I kept going on the trail because there's a road right here, this Highway 1. And you'll see that this distance between the road and our campsite is a heck of a lot shorter than this distance all the way back to here. In fact, this is 4.5 miles, and the other way, starting from here, that's 2.5 miles. So I was able to cut 2 miles off the trip if I go the opposite direction. So he left to go this way, I left to go this way, and he was going to bring the car around, and I'm going to meet him, on the Highway 1. So it was a good plan. The trail, by the way, is very easy to spot. I wasn't worried that we were going to get lost or, because this is the kind of precursor to those stories where people get lost in the forest and never get found. I just want to say, the Superior Hiking Trail was very well marked. It wasn't overgrown with vegetation. There's a couple spots where you can turn off, but if you had a map, and I did have a map, and I had a map on my watch even, because I have one of those Garmin watches. So I was not concerned about getting lost. It was just about getting done. So here I am on day 2. It had rained the whole night. There was fog everywhere. It was actually really cool. The cool temperature-wise and just cool visual-wise. Walking through the forest with fog everywhere. I mean, it was pretty cool. So here we go. We crossed the river here. Or the creek. And then we get going, and at the start, it seemed okay, right? Because we're going along this ridge here. But then you can see we're starting to change elevation, and then going down in elevation. And then right here, oh my gosh, 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet, 10, 10, 10, 10. And then we hit a peak. Then we go down 10, down 10. And now we're going back up 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. I mean, holy smoke buckles. This is 1230 here. We're up to 1350, 1360 is at the top. So we didn't quite get to 1360. It looks like we got to, I don't know, maybe 1310. But right around here was our first view. And it was 100% smog. Or fog. You couldn't see a dang thing. And so anyways, I get around that. And then you can see it's going down, down, down. And in my head, I didn't have the topography understood. In my head, I was like, it has to go down, and we're gonna we have to go down to a road because I keep feeling like I'm up high on this mountain, and so I'm gonna go down to a road, and then it's gonna level off. And so I do this down, 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 and you can see it goes from 1310 to 1240, right? So there's a little bit of up here. Then I come around, and again, it's going down a whole bunch more. And so I'm getting excited because we're going down. And then we come down to here, and look at all those lines so close together. Oh, I apologize. This was the first view. This was the second view. Both of them fog riddled. This one actually was really cool, but look how steep that is right there, right? So this is the first view. complete fog. This one was the second one, complete fog. Now let's get back to regularly scheduled programming. Somewhere around in here, I take a break, like a long one, like 20 minutes, because I'm just exhausted. Because even going down the hill was really getting on, with a 30-pound pack on my back, my legs were really shaking. And so, anyways, we get to here, and this is why I'm talking about this hill. Oh my gosh, it kicked my butt so much. And I wasn't like marathon runner leg spasming. This was just a hill that was spanking me. I had the energy. I did not have the cardio. And I'm going up this hill, stopping. I must have stopped 20 times, to catch my breath. And there's this lodge here, and at this spot, look, it keeps going up. Like, I didn't go all the way to the top. I only went to here. But I'm like right here, and my son calls me. My son had already hiked the 4.5 miles back to the car, drove the car all the way around, parked it on the Highway 1, and he was already a half mile in towards me, and he hadn't found me yet, and he wanted to know if I was still alive. So he calls me, and I'm right here, and I'm trying to explain to him I'm very close to the fork. He has no idea what I'm talking about because he doesn't have a map. And I just told him, I said, I'm close to the fork. And he's like, Dad, it's been all level terrain. Like, what are you struggling with? And I'm like boiling in frustration because this is the steepest dang hill of the entire hike. And, um, and it wasn't the first one. It wasn't the only one. Like, this whole thing was nothing but uphills and downhills. So anyways, I get to here and I turn left, and then of course it's all downhill, which is a nice change of pace. But trust me, this downhill, none of this is level terrain. It's still just as precarious because I have to make sure I don't fall, and because of the rain the night before, everything's slippery. So the downhill was just as not fun. But somewhere around here, I finally run into my son. So then we're hiking together, and oh look, it flattens out like it's nothing. And he's like, "See, I don't understand." Jerk. And then here, this is all downhill. So we're going down, down, down quite a bit, which this is the downhill I was expecting to get to the road, right? And that's what it was. We're going down, and so you can see we're going from like 1,200. Now we're down to 1,000. So we've gone down 200 feetish, and it's still going down. And then we're going through some. This is like some marshy area where you see the green here. And then we crossed Crystal Creek, which was a very scary bridge. It was just a narrow bridge with no hand railings, and you were just supposed to walk across it. And then, of course, the wood was creaky and old and really needs to be replaced. Anyways, neither here nor there. We had no disaster. We made it across. Then we get to the road, and our car was parked right here on the other side of the road. So, and then, we get to the car. It felt so good to sit in the chair of the car. And at that point, my legs were like, I'm done. And not like the kind of I'm done like the day before, but just like, oh my gosh, what did you just do to me? Done. Like soreness. And anyways, the BWCA trail was 8 miles a day for 4 days. I did 4.5 miles and then 2.5 miles. And I'm sitting here 2 days later. It's Tuesday now. And I cannot, my right foot feels like I broke a bone in it. Like, it's so sore when I put pressure on it. And I still am limping around the house. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, how could I ever even think that I could do the bigger one? Assuming that the trail is just as rough. And it for all intents and purposes, it probably is. And, can I do the miles if I'm on a park with flat terrain? Yes, absolutely. I have. That's the whole point as I trained. It's not the issue is not the miles. It's the miles plus the up and down terrain is the killer. And anyways, and also carrying a pack is not trivial. Like, you can't just ignore the fact that you're adding 30 pounds to your back. Although that part I think was the least. The only thing that the pack did for me was I think part of the reason why my foot hurts is because it had to brunt the pressure of carrying the extra weight. But the other part of it was the pack made it so you lose your balance more. Like when you're climbing a hill, you need to lean forward a little bit, so the center of mass was not, because like if you try to walk upright with a 30-pound pack on your back, the pack is going to make you fall backwards. And then of course when you're going down a hill, you can't be leaning forward. You have to be leaning backwards, so that way you're not going to fall forward. Um, so the whole gravity thing changed on you. But anyways, we got to here. It was a perfect plan. It was just a little embarrassing that my son was able to go, all those extra miles and then drive all the way around. It's not like this road is connected to the other one that easily. And then and I'm so grateful looking at this. Like look at how much punishment was coming if I would have kept going. So anyways, that is the trail that we did. And this is the Lake Superior, of course. So all these views that were facing this way, you're seeing Lake Superior, and it is. I mean, it really is a huge lake. It's like looking at an ocean. Um, so just zooming out here, that's what we call the North Shore of Minnesota, and that was the little part of the North Shore that we hiked. Now this weekend we are going to the BWCA, which is up here, and um, I just have to get my bearings here. Loon Lake sounds right. Bearskin Lake, here we go. This is where we are. So, for the hike that is happening this weekend, I am not going to make it. But I'm going to drop my son off right here. Or right here, McFarland Campground. So he's going to cross this bridge, and then here's the border route trail. You can see it right here. And so he's going to cross here. This is the 8 miles he's doing. And you can already see there's some elevation change, right? I don't think this is nearly as bad as what we did on our trail. I honestly think I could do it. I just, but this is so more remote. Like if I can't get out, there's nobody that's gonna come help me. I mean, well there is, but I'm asking a lot from them. And so, anyways, it looks like it's nice. The elevation's not too bad. And then he comes around, but see, like right here, 1600, and then eventually it goes to 1700, and you can see there's elevation, but the trail is not necessarily going down the cliff. Like it's going along the top of the cliff. See, so you have the view there, and then eventually he's going to get to here, and then he's going to take this yellow line. There's a campsite here and here, so he's just going to go to one of those. That's the first day. Then the second day he's doing this, and see, the border route trail is more along the ridge. It's not going up to the top of a hill and then down to the bottom. So honestly, I personally think this is going to be easier hill wise, but the amount of miles is still double. And so I can't risk it. I got to prove that I can do the smaller mileage. And anyways, you can see it goes around, and then it goes here to this Gogebic Lake. And I know it looks like it ends, but it actually goes right here down this hill. So that's a very steep hill there. And then it goes around the lake, because there's a campsite right here. And then you can see how the trail picks up again. And then the trail actually zigzags through here and then along the edge of this lake. And then this yellow line is the trail. You can see it keeps going. And this is where he's going to camp the second night. And then he's going to keep going and going, and then the third campsite was supposed to be here, but the plan has changed. He's actually going to just combine day 3 and 4 and just finish everything on day 3. And so the border route trail keeps going this way along the yellow line, but there's this spur here that he's going to take, and then it's going to come down around and drop him off at Clearwater Lodge. So Clearwater Lodge does not take dogs. So I could not, they had availability for me, but I could not stay there with my dog unless I wanted to rent a 6-person cabin at $600 a night or some ridiculous rate. So I couldn't be here for him. But there's a, see, this is these are trails, but there's roads. There's an actual driving road here that goes back. I want to say Horseshoe Lake or somewhere around here. I mean, there's Hungry Jack Lake. Actually, look, oh, right here, Poplar Creek. That's actually it, right there. So somewhere in here, I found a place that I can stay at, and it's just like 5.5 miles drive with a car to get to here. So it's not too bad. So I'm gonna go here at a designated time, pick him up, and bring him back. And then while he's hiking, my dog and I will come up to here and maybe do some day hikes up to see if we can get to the Canadian border, and then just go back. I'm not gonna camp overnight or anything crazy like that. So I'm gonna do like a day hike to get up to here. This is about 2 miles to get here, and then 2 miles to get back. So I gotta assess myself. But topographically wise, this is extremely flat terrain. I mean, there's a little bit of change, right? But most of the trail is going, like the trail actually goes around the whole edge, like it loops. So it's not going up to the top of any of these hills you see here. It's just going along the flat part. And right here is the Canadian border. So you get up to there, you can spit in Canada, and then turn around and come back. And so I'm gonna maybe do that one day. There's also I don't know how familiar you are with Minnesota, but there's this thing is called the Gunflint Trail that goes this way. You can see right here, and you can go all the way up the Gunflint Trail to its very end, and this is miles and miles. This is an hour plus of driving just to get up here. And there's some nice stuff to see up here. There's also in between where he's going to finish in here, there's some nice smaller trails that you can take all throughout here. This whole area is the Boundary Water area. Even down here, like there's a part of the Boundary Waters where you can't have motorized vehicles, and that's the part you see in the green. So anything north of this green line, no motorized vehicles, no motorized boats. You have to have a canoe, and so like anything that's inside of here, you can have motorized vehicles. They have roads, right, that go to here, but the roads stop. Like there is no more roads that, like, this is unadulterated terrain, whereas this is that same unadulterated terrain. It's not like Minnesota suddenly changes just because you're down here. It's just that you're allowed to have a vehicle. So it's still just as beautiful and just as nice. And so, yeah, I admitted defeat, but I got a plan B. I'm going to support my son. My son loves doing this, and the last thing I wanted to do was interfere with that. And I'm just not going to be able to do it with him. And I'm sad about it, but, maybe next year I could practice a little bit longer. And anyways, we get, I might at least get, up here so I could see the border and at least be a part of the trail where the cars are not allowed to be. Um, and then get back. And so yeah, the lodge that I'll be staying at has a restaurant and everything in it. So I'm a little bit excited about that. It's good for the fat guy to have food. And of course my dog. I want to be somewhere where my dog is allowed to be there too. And it's funny because I talk to these people and I'm like, you guys have bears everywhere. Why do you not allow dogs? And it's because the owner of the place has his own dog and he doesn't get along with other dogs. So um, I don't know if that owner is ever going to watch this video, but you're really losing a lot of business, sir, because of your dog. Um, anyways, this map that you see here, all these brown spots are actual bear sightings. So it is interesting. Now, Josh is going to be hiking along this stretch of land. He won't be down in this stretch. And you can see all the bear sightings are down here. That doesn't mean there's not bears up here. It's just this is where they're seeing them. But anyways, and then the red ones are the campsites. And I don't remember, the orange ones are fishing comments, whatever that means. Probably, somebody caught a pike that's 6 inches longer than it really was. But yeah, and there's the bear sightings. Oh, and the light brown is the moose sightings. So, anyways, it's a very cool map, And there's my story. I apologize. There's not a lot of uh, pictures or things like that. Um, if you'll bear with me, I have. I'm gonna open up my Facebook here, and this is Sawmill Dome. So I did post, this, and yeah, it was a great view. And so that's what a lot of what we were able to see. Of course, this was before the smog and the fog, but in here you can see my hike was intended, and um, yeah, we did 5.4 miles. I apologize, not 4.4, but same difference. I need to do 8, so the 5.4 broke me. But yeah, it's a really nice view, and that's all I actually posted um, of that. So, anyways, uh, yeah, and if you have any questions or anything, or if you want to try to do something like this yourself, I can help you out, like with gear suggestions and just things I've learned along the way. I'm not, I don't intend to be a hiker. Like I watch a lot of videos of people who do hiking, and they have like a format, and it's almost like those people who do unboxings. They have video format that's very similar to an unboxing. It's very canned. It's prepared. Of course, I don't have anything. I'm just talking to you like I would anything else. So, but if there's something I didn't think of or whatever, I am more than happy to talk about it, and I'll see what else I can load. Like I said, I have videos uploaded, but I made them private, and I just hope you respect that. It's just it was a trip with my son, and I wanted to share stuff, but then I just realized, this is just us. So, um, anyways, uh, I will always cherish that trip with him. I joke about it now, and my dog is gonna leave me because she loved the trails, and I'm too fat for them. That's our running joke. Is she's gonna find somebody skinnier. Um, but yeah, it's all good, and from my perspective, I'm getting older every year. I that's not in my favor, but I still have next year to get better, and maybe my son will be available and we can go and do another. This trail up here is 65 miles long. He's gonna do roughly 28 miles, so we could do the other half or something. There's always possibilities. As long as you're still breathing, there's always a chance, right? Anyways, thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome.